Hi, this is Kathy from Craft with Kathie. Thanks for joining me tonight. Quick little project, actually specifically for Father's Day. I saw this transfer, and whereas my dad normally does not wear t-shirts with messages or whatever, I am hoping that he will enjoy this. Somewhere along the line I went from a child from daddy to dad. I call him lots of different things. Sometimes when I really need to get his attention, I'll call him Mr. B. But somewhere along the line, as an adult, I started calling him Papa. So to me, I thought this would be a perfect shirt for him to wear. I'm hoping he feels the same about it. This is a brand new transfer. Our transfers are made out of vinyl and silkscreen, and they're kind of like stencils, but not. They're reusable. They have adhesive backs, and the way they work is by allowing you to push chalk paste or ink through the silkscreen portion, the white portion or the clear portion of the transfer, onto the surface beneath it. I'm going to label this transfer with the name before I take the backing off of it. And this allows me to know what back goes to what surface. And I'm actually going to be putting this on a t-shirt. So, before I get started, I need to remove the transfer from its backing. Transfers are reusable 8 to 12 times with proper care. Oops. Not exactly what I wanted to do. Okay, let's see. Basically, what not to do is what I just did. You want to take care that your transfers do not stick to themselves, and I'm going to try gently nudging this apart. I don't want to put a lot of pressure pulling it up on it, because then I could distort the silk screen, because it's kind of like fabric. If you pull it on the bias, you could stretch it. The vinyl I'm not concerned about, it's really the silk screen that I have to be careful. And I can't believe I did this. It's very warm in here right now, and it didn't help at all. My hands are actually sticking to it. Now, generally, if I wasn't live right now, I'd probably run this under some water and then just kind of lift it apart. But I think this is going pretty good. The place where it seems like it's really stuck is the vinyl to the vinyl, so I'm not really stretching when I get into that area. Okay. So I guess rule number one, if it's real hot and humid, you might want to put the air on. Actually, cool enough outside here, we just didn't have the door open or the windows open. Okay, so I am putting the transfer down on what's called my fuzzing cloth. And this is kind of like a terry cloth fabric. One side is terry, the other is a microfiber. And this cloth was specifically developed to deliberately apply lint to the back of the transfer so that it lessens the adhesive. And as you can tell from what I just did, this adhesive was pretty strong on this transfer. And usually you don't have to fuzz too much if you're using it on fabric, because you want it to stick very snugly to the fabric. So I'm going to leave this here for a second. Get my t-shirt. And then I'm going to put an ink mat behind the t-shirt. Let me just see if this is going to fit. Oh, that'll be fine. So that when I apply the ink to the shirt. It does not go through the first layer of fabric onto the back. And I find the easiest way for me to do this is to actually turn the shirt inside out, put it on because it's adhesive, and then turn it right side out to work on it. Sometimes I do that before I start a live, but I thought it's kind of nice to actually see what goes on in the background. And this is going to be a rather quick project anyway, so. The nice thing about our ink mat, it's adhesive, so it'll stick to the fabric. And it really, once you get it laid down there, it makes sure that you don't have any wrinkles in your project and that everything is nice and smooth. Okay. This is a pretty long, narrow mat. And I'm just pressing it onto the shirt. Now I'm going to write the shirt. And we'll get started. If you want to take a moment to say hello, let me know where you're watching from. I'm coming at you from the suburbs of Chicago. Hope all is well with you this evening. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to just comment below. I'm happy to answer anything I can as I go along. If I don't see your questions, I will answer them after the live. And I'm always open to any suggestions also for projects or ink colors or chalk colors or whatever. Primarily I do more chalking than inking, but I do love using ink. It's very similar in the application and everything. The only real difference is the ink needs to be heat set, and you could use an iron to do that, or you could actually use a heat press. I'll use a heat press. Okay, so I have this transfer. I'm going to pull it off of my fuzzing towel. Try not to get it to stick to itself again, right? And apply it to my shirt. And I don't want it quite up to the neckline. I want it down a little bit. And I'm going to make sure that it's straight. This looks pretty good. And then I'm going to smooth it out, making sure that I don't have any air bubbles in the silk screen portion of the transfer. I actually have a little bit right here, so I'm going to smooth it back down so you can see that it was at the bottom. I probably didn't need to fuzz this at all, but I want to make sure this is nice and smooth, no air bubbles, for a nice easy application of the ink. And this is our ink. Our inks have a white cap. Our chalk pastes have a black cap, so you don't want to ever accidentally grab the chalk when you want to ink, or vice versa. Chalks are washable off of most surfaces, inks are not. And that's the main difference. The inks have to be heat set, and they are not washable. They are permanent. So the other thing you have to be very careful with when you are working or inking is to make sure you don't have any ink on your fingers, because if you go to lift up your transfer and you have ink like on your thumbs and you go to lift this up, you could put ink on your shirt or whatever, your fabric, and smear it. Smear it or get ink on the project itself where you don't want it to be. Okay, I want to make sure that this is a consistency of between a yogurt and a sour cream, and I think this is pretty good. This is our shimmer copper, and I'm going to apply it. I like applying on the silk screen instead, I mean on the vinyl instead of the silk screen. And actually a little goes a long way. I probably got a little bit too much on here, but we'll see. And then you just gently work the ink through the silk screen onto the fabric beneath it. And I want to smooth it out, make sure there aren't any lines. Now fabric will take a little bit more ink than a chalkboard or wood with the chalk paste, so maybe I do need a little bit more ink on here. I just saw a little air bubble here. Hopefully that went through okay. Seems like it flattened just as I went over it, and I see one right here with his little paws, or big paws if you will, at the bottom. As you can see, this goes fairly quickly. I have a little spot right there at the bottom of the paw that I'm having a little hard time getting it. Okay, I think I've got coverage there. I'm just going back over, removing any lines. This looks pretty good. I love our shimmer chalks and our shimmer inks. They're very pretty. Not as bright as glitter, but they give a little bit of a shine to them. Okay, this looks pretty good, and it looks like I really don't have much to add back into the jar. Any excess can be put in back into the jar. Now it's time for a finger check. Make sure I don't have any, a little bit of ink on my finger. Make sure I don't have any ink. And then I'm going to lift up the transfer. As simple as that. Whoa, Papa Bear. I'm going to put this silk screen in a water bath and then just rinse off the ink with water. What do you think? I'm going to set this aside. I could hit it with a hairdryer or a heat gun, but generally I just let it dry overnight, and then I will use parchment paper, shiny side down, and use my heat press for just, I think it's at 305 for 30 seconds. Turn it inside out and do the same thing on the back, and that's it. If you were using an iron, you would want to set it as cotton, because this is you set it to whatever your fabric is. My fabric's cotton, and then you just iron it for 5 minutes on each side. Also use the parchment paper shiny side down. Thank you so much for watching this evening. I surely appreciate it. If you'd like to see additional projects like this and some specials, and actually I'm going to be running a contest in my VIP group, please comment VIP below and I'll send you the link for my VIP group, so that you're privy to specials and to the, actually it's going to be a scavenger hunt to the contest. Thanks again for watching. Have a wonderful life.